everybody, it is Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens and Crazy Hair Day. Today I am here with my April wrap-up. Today is the 30th of April, so I just finished my last book of the month today. You guys know I was trying to finish a series before my contemporary May reading, so on the last day of the month I am here with my wrap-up. I did better than I thought I was going to. I will count up all the books at the end of the video. So we're going to start off with the first book, which was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. If you guys were not a part of the live show that we had yesterday discussing this book, we had a ton of fun. I will link that in the description box down below. This was a phenomenal book. I loved the world building, the character building. It was a 5-star read for me. This does not feel like a debut novel. This is a fantastic novel, and I did continue in this series, which you will see a little bit later on, but I cannot wait for the subsequent books in this series because I just love these characters and this world so much. Then I read a library book that I no longer have with me, so I will put the cover up, but it was We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson, and it was not my favorite. It was a 3-star read for me. It was not one that I particularly overly disliked, but I don't think it lived up to the hype. I don't think the sci-fi aspect was necessary. I don't like the way that a character dealt with a loved one's death by suicide. However, the writing style was phenomenal. The character voice was amazing. It was so funny. It was actually really well written, so I'm looking forward to reading more of his works. Just wasn't my favorite one. Then we have a 4-star read with Into the Still Blue, which was the finale of the Under the Never Sky series by Veronica Rossi. Not the most original of series in my not so humble opinion. However, I really did enjoy the characters. I enjoyed the dual point of views. I did listen to all 3 of these books in audiobook, and the audiobooks were pretty well done, so they were quick listens for me, and I'm really glad that I read the series now. Then we started Tome Topple. Reading got intense, guys. I ended up, this will be like a dual wrap-up for just my month and also Tome Topple. I'm not doing a separate Tome Topple wrap-up video because it's just too much for me. I read The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first of the Mistborn trilogy. This series continues after book 3, but books 4, 5, 6 are like centuries later, like almost modern times. So it really is 2 different standalone trilogies, but within the same world. This book was so good. I did give it 4 stars because it takes a while to get into it. It takes a while to understand the world, the characters, the magic system. It was well done. It wasn't like info dumpy. It was dispersed through action and through different behaviors of the characters, but it was a lot to take in. All the same, I really got invested in the storyline, in the characters, and decided against going with Morgan Matson's Unexpected Everything and just continuing with this series. In terms of the readathon challenges, I believe it was read more than 1 tome, which I did do. A graphic novel, I did not. An adult book, which this was, and read a part of a series, which this was as well. So I didn't do too bad challenge-wise. I'm so glad I picked up this series, and I was so mad at myself for letting it wait so long. It is an intimidating series, but it was so worth it. It is very politic rich, very world building rich, also kind of like mystical, almost like religion based, but not like in your facey. So just trust it. If you are interested in this, just trust the process and go with it. And then I swiftly moved on to The Well of Ascension, which is the 2nd book of the Mistborn series. Again, Brandon Sanderson. And this one is a lot longer. I think this is the longest of the series. This one is 763 pages, so this is the longest of the entire series. This one I gave 5 stars to because I understood the world, I understood the magic system, and while I didn't always understand everything that was happening because there's a lot of plot twists and like slow revelations, I likened it to reading Lost, where as you read, little things get revealed that make things in the past make sense more. I became obsessed in this book with a couple of different characters, like secondary characters. I don't even know if it's fair to call some of these characters secondary characters. You get multiple POVs, so you get to read from a lot of different people's point of view. So they really don't feel like secondary characters. Everybody starts to feel like a huge key player, and they all are. Phenomenal 5-star read. So happy that I picked this up again and continued with it. I listened to 2 audiobooks. I listened to Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I gave 4 stars to, and I was really surprised by that, guys. I ended up reading this for the Tome Topple specifically because it was a available on my Overdrive app, and it was over 500 pages. However, I really had no interest in reading this because the Simon and Baz portion of Fangirl was my least favorite part of that book. In the context of contemporary, their storyline did not add anything, but on its own, Simon and Baz and Carry On was really cute, and I actually ended up really liking it. I think it was like a 2-day audiobook read. For such a long audiobook, it did go really quickly. The other audiobook that I listened to for Tome Topple did not go quickly. 10 days, I think, to listen to that book. So the majority of the Tome Topple, I was listening to this book, and it was Night Film by Marisha Pessl, and I ended up liking the book a lot, but it's not my genre. It's not one that I really reach for or enjoy or seek out, but it was one that everybody had been talking about, so I was like, let me get on board and check this book out. Definitely enjoyed it. I just don't think I understood it as well as other people did, or really got invested in it as much as other people did. But mind you, it stuck with me. I definitely wanted to know what was happening. It was one of those like twisted, dark, twists and turns books. I can absolutely see the appeal. I can totally see the draw in this book. I definitely did enjoy it. However, as an audiobook read, I do think something was lost in not having the physical version in front of me, because there is some mixed media. There's photographs, there's news files, and those things get read to you as opposed to seeing them. And I think that I would have probably been a little bit more invested in the storyline had I been able to visually relate to some of the things that were being discussed. Gorgeous, gorgeous writing. Definitely really did enjoy this book. Just not my favorite thing in the world. So 3 stars is still good for me. It's still a decent, solid read. It's not bad by any means. Those were the 4 books that I read for the Tome Topple this year. I'm pretty proud of that. 2 audio and 2 physical books. I read Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I gave this 4 stars. I liked the artwork. The storyline was obviously unique. This is about a woman and a man who can both separately like stop time when they orgasm, but together they can stop it for like extended periods of time and decide to rob a bank to save the library that the girl works at. So it's like about a book lover, very sexually aware. There's a strong like masturbation is okay kind of a vibe in this book, which I can appreciate, but it wasn't a storyline that I liked enough to continue with. I'm not mad at it, but I don't really think that I need to continue with it. There wasn't enough in this like content-wise and plot-wise to grip me. So if you guys have read further than this first one and you think that it really does pick up, let me know. Otherwise, I don't think there was enough going on in this one to keep me reading this particular series. I read Saga Volume 7 and holy crap. Just watched Trina's review of this. I think she read this as well this month and did a wrap up and said I think she gave it 3 stars, I think, just because she said it was like a more stagnant volume, and it was. A lot of this took place in the same area. However, I do think that there was emotional depth in this particular one that still made it amazing, and I've yet to give one of these volumes less than a 5-star read because I enjoy each and every single one of them so much. And from a graphic novel standpoint, I have not found another graphic novel I like nearly as much as this one. What I consider the benchmark now for graphic novels is this series. I cried at like a graphic novel. I started reading The Hero of Ages, which is the 3rd and final Mistborn book, and I found myself stalling out. So I decided to pick up a little bit of Fluff. I picked up Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr. This is the first of the Wicked series, I believe it is. This is a fae romance. I loved it when I first read it. Like, I loved it so much, but I think it's nearly 10 years since I read this. I don't love it as much anymore, which hurts my heart so much. I think I gave this 3 stars now. Really 3 stars because I'm nostalgic about it, and it's fae-based. The main character in this can see fae, and she's always been able to see fae, but she's suddenly thrown into the fae world in like a large way. She's used to just kind of like ignoring it. She does not let the fae know that she can see them, so she goes about her day surrounded by these fae, but like ignoring them, and then she's kind of thrown into their world very, very quickly, accepts all of this new information and moves on without really much drama, which never sits well with me, but apparently did when I first read it. But I did continue on to Ink Exchange, which is the 2nd book of the series, which I won't tell you very much about. It still follows our main character, Ashlyn and Keenan, and Seth. This one also focuses on a new character and a new set of fae. So every book kind of like more is introduced and there's like a new lead character, but everybody is still in the book. Again, you've got a girl who's kind of thrown into the world of fae and just kind of accepts it, which is weird. And the fae in this are definitely like dark and domineering and problematic, and I get that, but it was still just like a fluffy read for me. So this one I gave 3 stars to as well. I know I raved about these originally. I'm gonna read them, but I don't know that I recommend them, so that's the difference there. And then I listened to a couple of audiobooks that I want to talk about before I wrap up the Mistborn series. I listened to And I Darken by Kirsten White. I just learned that she will be writing a Buffy spin-off series, so I wanted to read something by her. I've heard a lot about And I Darken. That was another warrior story, but it was so cool because it was more Muslim-based religion. I don't know where it was supposed to take place, but it was very like Arabic. There was mosques. It also kind of had a lot to do with Constantinople, and there was references to a church there that I've actually visited when I went to Turkey, and I really, really appreciated another strong female lead character. There's political scheming. There's a girl who's, you know, trying to fight her fate of ending up in a marriage for the sake of politics or ending up in a harem. I enjoyed a lot about that book, so I plan on continuing with that series. It was a really fun audiobook, really well done. That was a 4-star read for me. And then I listened to A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, which was the follow-up to Ember and Ashes. It was a 4-star read for me though, as opposed to the 5-star read of An Ember and the Ashes. Torch Against the Night had a couple things that I just didn't appreciate. I felt like Laya, she started off the book strong and ended the book strong, but in between she just kind of lost me. I wasn't really engaged in her storyline at all. Helene is by far my favorite character, and there are some characters from the first book that creep their way in. There's some plot developments. There's some stuff happens in this book, guys, and I cannot get into it because spoilers, and I try not to do spoilers in my Goodreads reviews either. Just suffice it to say, if you read An Ember and the Ashes with us for the book club and you continue on to this book, feel free to message me and we can talk about it, because not cool. That's all I'm gonna say. That was a 4-star read for me. Did not love it as much as the first book, but I will absolutely be continuing on with this series. And then my last book for the month was the one that I finished today, and that is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, the final Mistborn trilogy book. Holy cow. This one took me a while to read. I think I started this before Tome Topple ended, but there was no way I was going to finish it during Tome Topple, and it took me about 10 days to read. But I pushed through and I read the last like 200 pages in the last day and a half. I had to sit and like put ice under my eyes and wash my face and just calm down before I could even put on makeup to film this video, because I was crying so hard at the end of this book. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous finale to this series. I obviously can't say anything about it, but just suffice it to say, it wrapped up in the best way possible, but the most heartbreaking and tragically beautiful way as well. If you've read this, definitely let me know. Don't comment down below with spoilers, but like you can private message me on here or DM me on Twitter and we can talk about it. I'm buddy reading this with Wendy, and she stopped reading this to read Akawar because her copy came in early, and I don't even want to talk about that because I'm very jealous, and this destroyed me. Like I cried. Definitely parts of this that felt a little bit slow to me.